Patch 6.1 that is going to be coming out here has a ton of changes, a ton of them. So we're going to go through a whole bunch of them rapid fire here, not going too in depth about any of the campaign changes, just kind of mentioning what they are and glossing over them. There could be different videos from other creators that go way more in depth, but so many changes. Very excited to show you all. Check them out. Mother Ostankia and Kislev got the largest of the campaign reworks by far. For Mother Ostankia, very early in the game, you'll get this choice to either remain in Nagaroth and retain all settlements, or leave for Kislev. That was just due to some community feedback that they wanted her to be in Kislev, but CA wanted to at least give the option of other factions to interact with Kislev that aren't, you know, near the north of the old world. So you get that choice nice and early on. That's kind of fun. But taking a look at some of the other stuff, I'm not going to go into super detail on all of it, as this is just a all of the changes type video. But their technology tree got a complete rework. You can see some of that. Their ice court got a rework where it's a little more consistent and quicker to get heroes out. And like we said, Mother Ostankia got a rework where she can go back to Kislev. There's also the Great Orthodoxy race rework that happened, but Mother Ostankia doesn't really participate in that, but it is up there. So yeah, really big reworks for the Kislev campaign. Should be a lot of fun. Definitely the campaign that got the most reworks. For one of our campaign reworks, we have Kairos Fate Weaver. The Tzeentch campaign got touched up a little bit. He has this Fragments of Sorcery thing, and how it works is there are 6 tiers of spells. Each tier has different spells available to it, and you unlock them as you level up. Within here, I can pick different spells I want to have in Kairos's kit. I could switch over Plague of Rust. Instead of Blue Fire, I could have Fireball, something like that. Can let you fully customize Kairos. It's pretty interesting. There's some other smaller Tzeentch changes, like building tiers changing, units changing to different building tiers, but this one is the most crystal clear. I can point out that their Fragments of Sorcery got entirely reworked. Third and final of our reworks is the least impactful. So Kislev was by far the most. Then Kairos Fate Weaver for Tzeentch got most of the changes. And then Tzeentch got a couple units moving up and down building tiers, which actually I forgot to mention Kislev's building tiers also all got switched around, which, you know, still largest change by far. For Cathay, they got the new Nan-Gau Grenadiers, and Miao Ying herself got her like skill tree reworked a little bit. And she got some new starting units and a couple bonuses here and there, but nothing really too important. So, you know, the least of the 3 reworks, but still something. Continuing on the free stuff train, we got a new lord for Kislev and multiplayer. It is the Ataman. The Ataman is a clone of the Boyar. You can see they have all the same skills, except he has Charmed Shield, whereas the Boyar has the Axe of Tor. And the Ataman has no mount options. Instead, he has Missile Strength. Here we have the Ataman next to the Boyar, where the Boyar can get a bear mount. The Ataman just has a big old bear shield, and he does have his little pistol. I have a General of the Empire landing on this guy. 70 melee defense is nothing to scoff at. If anybody retreats, he can pull out his pistol and just start firing. Hey. Oh, he's getting attacked. And he got a little shot off there. He has a nice tiny poking tool, and he forces them to come duel him. Decent fire rate on that, actually. He pulls out his axe, gets to it, has some decent combat buffs. Get up to 94 melee defense, which is kind of wild. So he's going to be a tanky, relatively cheap melee foot lord with a good poke. Here we have the new Grand Cathay unit, the Nan-Gau Grenadiers. They're not crazy overpowered, as some people might have suspected. They only have 80 models, where the Vampire Coast Bombers have, I think, like 120 or 160. So I think, yeah, it's 120. They have less DPS output because they throw less bombs. Their missile strength isn't as high as the Vampire Coast with their extra powder. But you do have fire damage, yin and yang harmony and whatnot, and they're still bomber units, which is pretty good. They say they have hybrid stats, 24, 29 melee attack and defense is okay, but their big winner is they have a good supportive ability, Heaven's Flash. And I feel like this, CA told us about it, obviously, but you can just cast it wherever you want. Like, it's not like a volley they have to throw, so you can just throw down this debuff, Heaven's Flash, minus 24 melee attack and melee defense, helps your cavalry get through some others' engagements, perhaps, or helps your frontline infantry do better. But it's a decently long-lasting little flashbang bomb. that you can cast at a good range. So you don't have to actually get in range and use ammunition and try and hit the unit and whatnot. And then we still have Grenadiers that do decent damage. But their damage really isn't that crazy, and I think that's a positive thing. You just don't want another overpowered crazy unit for 500 gold. But yeah, they're pretty neat. I do wonder what players will do with them, especially in multiplayer. How you can get that Nan-Gau grenade usage out could be pretty fun and good. So we will see. But with only 40 armor and then 29 melee defense, if you are... Well, why do they have a bonus there? Tactician. Ah, okay. So I didn't realize my Lord Magistrate was helping. So normally they only have 24 melee defense, 40 armor, 80 model count. They're not going to be OP. They might be good, but they're not going to be overpowered. Our third brand new unit is for the Ogre Kingdoms. There's Nan-Gau Grenades, the Ataman, and now Gnoblar Flingers. Kind of like Skaven Slave Slingers, but Gnoblars. They are 300 gold. Expendable, incredibly squishy, with only 6,000 HP, 120 models, 15 armor, 45 leadership. They are very easy to kill in melee. Their slingshot only has 120 range, which is not nothing, but Gnoblar trappers have, like, I think 70 or 80, so it's not, like, crazy further than the Gnoblar trappers, who are also way better in melee and have that debuff, or if you're attacking them, they get the slow drain type thing. These guys don't even have the most ammunition, so they'll just be kind of useful little poke, but honestly, at a 300 gold price point, I don't know how much you'll see them in multiplayer. I'm not saying you won't see them at all, I just don't know if they'll even be in 1 out of 10 games. I'm not sure, because I'm not noticing, like, a really good reason to take them. I don't know, but they're cheap enough that you might be able to slip 1 or 2 in, so... I don't know how to feel about the Gnoblar Flingers. I don't think they're going to be game-breaking. People were worried about Ogres being overpowered, but their Meat Feast got a duration nerf. It's down to 20 seconds, I think, from 27 seconds. So quick math, someone's going to correct me if I'm wrong, but that's about a 1/4 duration nerf. And we can see these Gnoblar Flingers used all their ammo, and they haven't even killed these Zombie Pirate Deckhands mobs. So, I mean, it's not like they're going to be crazy overpowered or anything. But anyway, Meat Feast got taken out back. Not shot, because it is an arming ability. You can just use it anyway. But a 1/4 of its duration gone, roughly, is pretty brutal. So big nerf there. We have some other nerfs coming up later in this video. But yeah, the new unit is not overpowered. Meat Feast got a bit of a nerf, so it's okay. Ogres are not going to be... They're not going to be even stronger than before. It's okay. Wulfric the Wanderer's Sword of Torgald got a buff. We can see on the right-hand side is new. Left-hand side is old, just for your reference. It will be that way for all my examples like this. But on the right-hand side, we have his base weapon strength on his mammoth. That is the same in both, 525. His old Sword of Torgald did not give any armor-piercing buffs. So unless he was on foot, maybe on horseback, his mammoth had primary armor-piercing. So it gave no armor-piercing buffs. So he didn't really get a lot out of his Sword of Torgald on his mammoth. With the changes, we'll see it come up on the left-hand screen. So left is old, right is new. On the left-hand side, the Sword of Torgald gives 140 damage to get up to 665. On the other screen, we get 788 weapon strength for Wulfric the Wanderer on his mammoth. That is about 123 more damage. So the Sword of Torgald must be giving 263 in that example. So pretty much Wulfric on a mammoth got a buff of about 100 plus damage when he's using the Sword of Torgald. It's not nothing. So good for Wulfric. He also gets magic attacks, if you see that. Magic attacks from the Sword of Torgald. So Sword of Torgald, big buffs, helps Wulfric be good against demons. And then we have Ice Wolf Chariots that got a buff. Again, new is on the right. Left is old, and you can see at this frame right here, the right side, the new buffed Ice Wolf Chariots get through that front line a lot easier, do some decent damage. On the left-hand side, the old ones are doing good damage, but they're taking forever to get out of there. The right-hand side, I do ×2 speed as I turn around and charge again. Meanwhile, the left-hand side are still trying to get out of there. And on the right hand, the only reason I even kept the clip going is I wanted to show you that they do get a better charge from the back and do a lot more damage. But yeah, those the old version of the chariots definitely had a harder time getting out of infantry. So Ice Wolf Chariots got a decent buff. Might be usable now. I don't know if they'll be overpowered or even good, but they are definitely not complete trash. And Wulfric's buff is pretty significant. I honestly think he will be better than Throg in every situation now. This one I have to start paused because it happens so fast, but Grimgor's Blood-Forged Armor Explosion got a buff in its range and its damage. I believe its damage went from 6 to 16. So you can see here my Grimgor is going to charge into 2 swordsmen. Roughly both have 8,000 HP. Right hand is new as per usual. So left hand Grimgor is old. There goes his explosion, right-hand explosion as well. You can see the right-hand explosion is larger. The circle around him is larger, and you see the damage difference. Left hand is old, 7,600 HP remaining. On the right hand, the new 6,895 HP remaining. So about almost 1,000 more damage to those swordsmen by the new Grimgore blood forged armor. Nice big explosion. We'll see it again one more time. Explosions! Bigger explosion, more damage. This is probably the biggest nerf to anything all patch, and it is the Hellforged Bellowers. On the right hand is the new, on the left hand is the old. The right hand, you can see their missile strength is slightly down, but the big thing is their range is down 120. 120 range down is insane, and their calibration difference changed. So you can see on the left-hand side is the old. The old is already getting into range, and they're going to fire. The right-hand side still moving up. There's all the shots. Every shot hit those infantry. Every shot hit the cavalry. Now that is all that is important about that. The other side, the right-hand side, they are going at the same speed. They are still trying to get in range. The other side have already fired and retreated. Now, I only fired one volley with the others because I want to show you here. So we have 3 edited together, 3 shots. You won't see the reload times. You can see, look up there. 1 shot already missed that center swordsman. 2 skull cannon shot at the same swordsman, but 1 shot missed. Everything else hit. So, you know, good first volley. Second volley, ooh, actually, was it a good first volley? Let me rewind a second. You see that? Out in front of him, there's already 1. My mouse is showing up nice. There's already 1 shot that is flaming in front of him, so they did miss. So second volley's coming up. There they go. You can see another one hit the ground before it hit the enemy. And look at that. 3 bullets missed past him. So 4 bullets missed in this volley, 1 early, 3 late. Actually, ooh, the other one's still firing, so you could have more misses. Nope, 4 hits, a good volley there. But the calibration distance changed, as well as, ooh, and a terrible volley. Again, that one's going to fire a little bit later than the others. But look at all those misses. We have 1 back there, 3 over here, so 4 total went wide, and then 3 went early. So the calibration distance reduced the accuracy of the homing missiles of the Skull Cannon ROR, and the range decrease is rather significant. 280 to 160 is brutal. I don't know if this unit is even competitively viable anymore. It might be a meme or just kind of meh. Very short little example here. I don't even have to unpause, but I can, but I won't, but I can, but I won't. But the abilities bars have been changed significantly, as with all these two examples. I have the old on the left. You see Manfred's abilities, because he has all of his spells and all of his abilities. It's just a chunk of unreadable little dots. And on the right-hand side, with the new abilities bar that CA added, all of the abilities are separated out, no matter how many there are. So they're much easier to see what your opponent is bringing to the fight. All Terrorgeists for the Vampire Coast and Vampire Counts got a mass increase. We can see the right-hand side is new Luther. He is trucking through those swordsmen, while left-hand Luther on the old Terrorgeist mount is having a hard time. That screen fades to black because of how far ahead he was. We will watch the race again because it was so short. So here they both start moving through the swordsmen at the same time, and I have a path. There's like a dirt path at the end that they're trying to get to. The screen will cut to black when right-hand Luther reaches it. Left-hand Luther is getting bogged down in the swordsman. You can see they're pushing him back. The other one scattered them easily. He has reached the path, and still there are a couple seconds before that Luther breaks free and gets to the path. So more mass, less chance for your Terrorgeists to get stuck in melee combat, easier for them to get to their real targets. And finally, the thing that matters most to multiplayer players, off-screen, the Thunder Tusk is throwing his little javelins at the Feral Dreadsaurian. Both of them started throwing as soon as this clip started. I am going at ×4 speed, but you can see that in the same amount of time of the Thunder Tusk throwing those little javelins at the Dreadsaurian, you can occasionally see a black blur going across your screen. But in the same time throwing at both these Dreadsaurians have a max HP of about 15,000. So since they started throwing at the same time at 15,000, we got to 11,000 and 13,000 roughly. You can see starts pretty much 15,000. And actually, wow, the right-hand side, the new Thunder Tusk that got nerfed heavily, started with a bit of an advantage from where my editing was. But at the very end, it's 11,000 versus 12,944. So, you know, going from 15,000, that's roughly 2,100 damage on the right-hand Dreadsaurian. On the left-hand one, that is roughly 4,000 damage. It is roughly, approximately half. So they took half the damage off of those little Thunder Tusk jav throwers on the back of it, which were quite toxic. So, yeah. Should be a little less impressive in multiplayer. Beastmen got a light change. I think Torox's price went down a little bit to try and convince you to grab someone besides Malagor when you start your games. Now, Flock of Doom did not get changed, so Malagor is still going to be very intense. but their Centaurs got hit. All of their Centaur variants got increased costs, I believe, including the Centaurs of Tzeentch. Throwing axes as well, if I remember correctly, but I saw it in the notes that were given to me that their Centaurs overall got cost increases, so the roster will be more expensive. And then Khorngor's got a bit of a nerf, just, you know, mildly. I think Zongor's got actually a tiny bit of a buff, but overall a nerf to the Beastmen slightly, because they have been just spamming out Centaurs to win games recently. So all those getting a cost increase will make your builds a little thinner. Speaking of quick buffs, Chaos Dwarves got a ton of buffs, but they got cost reductions for all their Bull Centaur renders. They got cost reductions for their Hobgoblin Wolf Riders and Wolf Rider the Archer variants. And then all of their Chaos Dwarf type units got health increases to make them a bit tankier rather than reducing their cost. That can be nice. It'll make their Chaos Dwarves feel a little more elite and special than the Hobgoblins. And then the Hobgoblin Sneaky Gits got some damage increases and maybe a little more ammunition on their thrown knives. So buffs kind of across the board. I know the Cathay Destroyer got some minor touch-ups, but they weren't really that significant. And the Cathay Fireborn, I laughed a bit, but they got Hide and Forest, which, okay, big deal. But still, buffs almost across the board, because if we factor in all the units that got touched by the buffs, it's probably half the roster. That one, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units. Oh, and the Immortals also got a rework of some of their, well, not a rework, just buffs on some of their stats, and they got Unyielding Assault, so they can't have their melee attack reduced during battle. Plus some stat buffs. They're really trying to make the Immortals better, which they did make my video of one of the worst regiments for now in the game, so they definitely needed the help. But anyway, over half the infantry got buffed. 3 out of 4 of the missile infantry got buffed. All of the cavalry got buffed, and both the missile cavalry units got buffed. Half of the monsters and beefs got buffed, so that's a lot of the rosters getting buffs. Clearly they thought the Chaos Dwarves were in a tough spot. Also, Ash Storm got a buff. That spell was terrible. I saw some people bring it, but I don't see why. But it got a Winds of Magic reduction, so even some of their spells getting buffs. They're really trying to bring Chaos Dwarves back into the game. On the Dark Elf side, it is weird. Slaanesh's Harvesters got Cause Fear, and the Knights of the Ebon Claw got Cause Terror, trying to get people to take more of those expensive regiment around cavalry. And then Harganth Executioners got mild buffs for their melee performance. And Cold One Chariots got a decently large buff for their melee stats. I did some testing, and they felt just kind of fine. I didn't feel like pulling up a clip for just that, but yeah, they felt fine. They're okay. I think Scourge Runners are still going to be better, but big buffs to a pretty terrible chariot is nice. Then all of their Pegasus-type mounts, including Morathi, got extra mass, so they won't get locked down on the ground nearly as much. And for any fans of the Dow, you might want to close your ears, but the Dwarves got a bunch of nerfs. I still think they'll be the best faction for multiplayer, but the Miners of Blasting Charges did get a cost increase, and they got some missile strength nerfs. They lost some of their armor-piercing damage. And yeah, that's pretty significant for them. And then their Air Force all got more expensive and a little bit slower. Their Thunder Barge lost 10 armor. I know, ooh, 10 armor. The Thunder Barge is probably still going to be really strong. But yeah, almost all their helicopters got a cost increase. And their Miners of Blasting Charge, which was their most common frontline option, all got a cost increase. So this will affect the Dwarves. I still think they'll be very strong. Bretonnia is weird. I was doing some testing with it, and I don't know how to fully grasp what has changed about them. I mean, like, it's easy to say. Anything that is on a Pegasus-type mount got a mass increase. So they should be easier to get out of bad situations. But it's hard to just show in, like, a video unless they get massive mass increases. And then it's pretty obvious. So, I don't know, mild adjustments to anybody on a Pegasus-type mount, lords and heroes included. But the big one you can point to is the Green Knight. Green Knight got 300 gold off his base cost, which is significant. That's 1/6 of his base cost cut down. And then he got Perfect Vigor, which a lot of lore people wanted for a while, which, I mean, it makes sense that he would have Perfect Vigor. He is both a Grail Knight and a Ghost, so it's weird for him to get sleepy. But Perfect Vigor and a massive cost decrease. You might start seeing the Green Knight now. I'm still not sure. Just single entity horse characters haven't been great for a while. High Elves, I thought about making a video about it, but the actual effect isn't that impressive. But Eltharion the Grim got 2 different buffs. His Fang Sword of Eltharion now gives more armor-piercing weapon damage to him, and his Mistwalker's Barrage got rebuffed back to its patch 5.0 level, so the Mistwalker's Barrage is a little tighter circle, doing more damage. That's nice for Eltharion. Their Rangers got some stat buffs, so did their Swordmasters of Hoeth. And then I think that is about it for them. No, the Dragon Princes all got slightly more armor, which is pretty whatever. They're Silver Helms as well. So overall, the High Elf Cavalry will have more armor, though 10 armor here and there doesn't really matter too much. And their Shadow Walkers got a couple melee stat increases as well, so good for them. We have some fun stuff for a Lizardmen friends that I'm very excited about. Any Carnosaur type mount or Troglodon type mount, or the Carnosaurs and Troglodons themselves, all got a health increase. I think it was about 1,000 or so HP. So anything that is kind of T-Rex shaped is now going to be a little bit tankier and have more oomph to it, which is quite nice. We could use that. Those types of units are struggling, so that is pretty good. And then the only other Lizardman change I saw was the Pakopah cohort had been struggling to justify themselves over the Cold One Spear Riders. They now have a devastating flanker in addition to their Vanguard deployment. So if you put them in the Vanguard at the start of a battle and you get a nice rear charge on the enemy, you do get double your charge bonus. That's pretty fun and neat, and it's not really game breaking at all. It just gives this unit more of an identity than it used to have. So that is neat, and I do like the health increases for some of the more struggling monsters on this roster. Continuing on the easy buffs to just point out in this type of screen, I believe Plague Drones got one of those complicated reworks with, like, they have less splash damage, so they do more damage to single entities, but in testing I didn't see too much of a difference, so that's not what I'm going to focus on. Plague Ogres got a stat increase that might make them a little more competitive, but the really big winner is one of the worst units of the Thrones of Decay DLC. It is the Bile Trolls. Bile Trolls used to have melee attack with poison. Now they have a crazy buff. On contact, when they make melee contact with you, you get minus 15% speed and minus 8 leadership. Plus poison that all Nurgle units can put on you. That is a crazy stack of poison. I think that is minus 30% speed overall constantly from Bile Trolls being nearby. I mean, unless you don't have anybody applying poison, but that seems unlikely on this roster. So Stomach Acid, a brand new contact effect from the Bile Trolls, and that'll be incredibly strong versus low leadership factions like Skaven or Beastmen or something. You can just shatter their front line instantaneously with Bile Trolls charging in. That's going to be pretty nuts. Another short change to throw at you is Skaven got actually a decent buff, especially versus Lizardmen. So Rattling Guns are good at taking out large monsters and somewhat flyers, but the Lizardmen have come up with the technology recently to mess with Skaven where they will throw Flesh to Stone down on top of the Dread Saurian. So then they'll have like 65 or something % physical resistance, and it can tank through a lot of shots. But now the ROR Rattling Guns, the Teethbreakers, got magic damage. It is a relatively small change, like one unit on your roster got magic damage, but in that specific matchup and some others where there's going to be a lot of physical resistance, the Teethbreakers could actually make a little bit of a comeback. So it's neat. I just thought I'd point it out. Kind of fun. Slaanesh is a weird one. CA wanted to tamp down on the oppressive nature of the Demons of Chaos, stealing from their demonic units, plus also Slaanesh's prowess and domination. So their Forsaken got a charge bonus increase to match other Forsaken units, but its charge bonus was originally deteriorated due to the devastating flanker of Slaanesh, so that is a buff for them overall. And then they did get armor on all of their chariots. Their armor went from 40 to 70. I still think their chariots are going to be terrible, but we'll see what people do with them in time. All those buffs, though, I mean, all those sounds like a lot, but, you know, those buffs don't counteract Slaanesh is overall going down a peg because their Seekers and Heart Seekers got cost increases, which is going to be felt. Vampire counts got some mild changes, but in a different little clip, you'll see the Terrorgeist thing. But the Terrorgeist got increased mass like the Vampire Coast ones. And then their Cavalry got some buffs. They're really trying to help out the Vampire Coast mobility game with their large mobile anti-large monster that is very quick, getting a bit of buffs. And then Black Knights got cost decreases, making them easier to field in a larger army. And Blood Knights got damage increases, trying to make them a little more of the elite knights they should be.
Roar. Subscribe, yes.